Welcome to the My Voice to Story podcast. I'm your host, Cielo. I'm a television media storyteller turned entrepreneur. My Voice to Story is an interview podcast for young adults who struggle with human anxieties and finding comfort in their experiences. In each episode, I conduct unfiltered interviews with extraordinary individuals from top business executives to everyday folks about the obstacles they've encountered in their lives and how they rise above them. Listen in for tangible tips and inspiring stories that will help you overcome your anxieties and thrive in the face of adversity. So let's get started. This episode is brought to you by Fiverr. Fiverr is an online marketplace for freelance services. I am a very proud sponsor to Fiverr because Fiverr has been part of my journey as an entrepreneur since day one. And I'm going to get very real about this. When I first launched the Plenty W publication in 2017, I needed a lot of professional help. And honestly, I could not afford to spend thousands of dollars to start a business. How could I? I had just quit CNN and I was broke. So when I discovered Fiverr, it was life-changing. It blew my mind that I could purchase professional services at a very affordable price. Using Fiverr has been life-saving for me in so many occasions. So if you're a student that needs professional help with editing, math homework, writing, or you're just an entrepreneur that just started a business and you're kind of lost, don't really know how to build a website, you need help with marketing, branding, you name it, Fiverr is the way to go. Fiverr right now offers about 1,000 services in more than 200 categories. And trust me, once you start using Fiverr, it becomes addictive. You won't stop. You can head to blentw.com. BlentyW is, of course, the name of our publication. blentw.com/Fiverr. Fiverr. By signing up and using one of the Fiverr services with our unique link, you will be making your life easier and smarter. And trust me, I guarantee you, you're not going to regret it. Hi guys, my name is Cielo. I'm CEO and founder of BlentyW. Welcome to the My Voice to Story Talks. Today's episode 2. And here I have Precious Williams. I am so excited that you guys get to know her. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to talk about everything.
No filter?
No filters.
Okay.
Yes. But before that, I want to introduce you guys to her because she's amazing and she's done so much. Precious is a 13-time national pitch competition winner. She has been featured in many reputable publications such as Wall Street Journal, CNN, MSNBC, and she was selected to pitch her company on ABC's Shark Tank, which is unreal.
Yeah.
Precious, you have built different companies, and right now you run a company where you help women
Perfect their pitch, their public speaking, branding, yes.
And of course, you just released a book.
Pitches and power pitches for women entrepreneurs and speakers only.
So we're going to talk about that a lot.
Yes, we are.
But before we talk about all of the highlights, I want to know what makes you you.
What makes me me? That, first of all, it's a great question. And I always hate when people say that, but I'm like, it's a great question. What makes me me is that I'm bold. I'm in your face. I'm very passionate. And when people meet me, they always talk about my energy. They're not used to a certain type of energy. And so what makes me me is that I truly believe in myself no matter what. I've had so many people tell me, you're too fat, you're too black, you're too this, you're too that. And that's what I tell them. That's what's going to make me stand out because I don't look like anybody else, because I don't talk like anybody else. Today, you could have met me and I would have had blue hair. And you'd be like, you know what? I just roll with it because that's just part of who I am. I love difference. I celebrate difference. And I know that's what, you do. You blend. You're blending so much of everything together to make something very, very beautiful. And so that's what makes me is my passion, my energy, and my intensity, and my boldness.
So much energy that I feel from you.
Yeah.
Good energy. So I want to know a little bit about your story. So where did you grow up? Tell me a little bit about your childhood. Where'd you go to school?
So I'm from the inner city of St. Louis, Missouri. I went to Booter Elementary, Hake Middle School, Long Middle School, William H. Beaumont High School. So I grew up, again, as I said, in the inner city, which is the ghetto, the hood, and everything like that. And I don't think people really know that about me. And I grew up with a mother who did not want me from the time I was born, which still stings even to this day. And I'm turning 41 next month. And my father was and still is a crack cocaine addict. And so I went through a very traumatic childhood with knowing that both of my parents really didn't have the skill set or the wherewithal to really take care of me. So I was a very violent child and a very angry child. My mother beat me, cut me, broke my nose, cut me with glass. Like, my mother was a very abusive woman. And on November 18th, 1991, she tried to murder me over a book. Different story for a different day. But the only reason I'm here today is because when I was 15 years old, my grandparents stepped in to raise me. And the reason why you see me with a smile on my face is because my grandmother loved me to be the person that I am today. My grandmother never laid a hand on me. It was so weird to go from growing up with roaches and rats and stuff like that to living in a house where my grandmother cooked every day, where she twinkled my toes in the morning to wake up, where my bath water was drawn, and where she drove me to school each day to make sure that I knew that I was loved. And I look back like, she changed me with love. That's all she did, is she loved me to being Precious Williams. And when I was 16, my grandmother said, Oprah's going to know your name. She said, the way you speak, she said, Oprah's going to know your name. And I'm thinking of her like, my own parents don't want to know my name. What you mean, Oprah? And, slowly but surely, Oprah is going to know my name. Trust me. And so I've always wanted to be a talk show host. Not because of Oprah, but just because when I was a little girl, my grandmother said this. She used to watch me talk to my dolls and, ask them questions and my little microphone. So anyway, I became a speaker when I was 16 years old. The principal of my high school came and asked me to speak, and I didn't know it was before the mayor of the city of St. Louis. And I didn't have any fear, because when you're a teenager, what are you afraid of? What, not fitting in? That's the worst. But speaking? No. And so I kept speaking. I was speaking on, educational issues and things like that. I didn't realize how much of a great speaker I was until I was in my 30s. And I realized that even if I have little butterflies, I'm ready. I can go on any stage. I can kill it. And I often think back to my grandmother saying, you have the gift of speech. And so, winning competitions and speaking and everything, all of those she built into me. She used to make me do affirmations in the mirror. I am great. I am wonderful. I'm the greatest in the world, the greatest salesman. I'm beautiful. I'm strong. I'm smart. And those things still stick with me to this day, so even though I don't have children, my grandmother mothered me like a real mother should have. So that was my childhood. My adulthood has just been a roller coaster of a ride.
So that's where I wanted to get. So, of course, you were natural because of the story. Did you always want to become an entrepreneur? How did that originate, like your first company?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that question, because I didn't always know I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I just wanted to be a talk show host. And little did I know that the way God would have it is I would have to talk my way into being a talk show host. And so back in 2010, I had a fiance and we broke up in March of 2010. And then I put a little ad on it wasn't really a dating website. I'm embarrassed to say it was Craigslist.
But back then
it was different back then. It was 2010. And so I put a little ad called Two to Tango, and it was very, very cute about dancing and stuff like that. And I met this very famous Hollywood actor dude who is now deceased, but back in the day, he inspired so much out of me. In the time that we were together, I gained weight, lost weight, gained weight, and got up to 327 pounds. And the way he loved me and the way he cared for me, I wanted other women who had a little bit more meat on their bones. I wanted them to feel the way he made me feel every day. So I wanted to create Curvy Girls Lingerie, which was my first company. Had no money to get started. Quit every job I've ever had as an attorney. Yes, I'm a former attorney. And we're not going back to that profession. And I told my friends I was going to be on television and everything. And what do people say? You don't have a company. You kind of big. They're supposed to look a certain type of way. And I got on MSNBC's Your Business with JJ Ramberg. No PR machine, no money, no nothing.
How did you get from the idea? I know you won 13 competitions and you raised $150,000.
Yes,
right?
I did.
No equity.
None.
Important for entrepreneurs.
None.
In order to develop your idea. But Was it because you were so successful in these pitch competitions that you eventually made it to MSNBC?
So I got on MSNBC before I did my first pitch competition. I didn't even know what an elevator pitch was. I never knew what an elevator pitch was until I had to do it on the spot. So it's so crazy. When I was at the Small Business Award ceremony, CNBC was in the room and MSNBC were in the room. I said I was going to be on television. Me and God had a conversation in the bathroom. He's like, well, you can't be on CNBC because you haven't stolen any money. Okay, I can't be on American Greed. Okay, great. So I walked into the producers at MSNBC, and they're having a great conversation. I interrupt, and they're like, so who are you? And I said, well, I'm glad you asked. My name is Precious Williams. I am the proud founder and CEO of Curvy Girls Lingerie, with the ultimate shopping experience for full-figure divas and plus-size fashionistas.
Yes.
When I tell you they laughed and laughed and laughed, I was like, that was supposed to be tight. That was supposed to be real. And they were like, no, that was really, really good. And then they were like, have you ever thought about being on a show, Elevator Pitch? Never heard of the show in my life. But I was like, of course, yes. So they were bringing me the host, JJ Ramberg. My bladder's getting full because I'm like, I don't know what's about to happen. She gets called to be on stage, so her booking producer comes up to me and she's looking at me and she's like, I've heard of you, Precious Williams. She hadn't. That was just code for you better bring it right now, little girl. So she's like, give me your elevator pitch. Had no idea what to say, just went with it. She's like, you're good. Stop. You're going to be on the show. Oh my God, I just talked to myself in a national television. Wow. My company wasn't real. No website, no paperwork, no documentation. And I will always remember that I learned something from men who look, well, I'm not a man, but people who look nothing like me is when the time comes, you just have to do what you have to do. And so in that moment, I had to prepare. It's like what preparation means opportunity. I've been a speaker for a long time. But I never thought that I would talk my way on a national television with a company that was not even real. So by the time I was on the show, everything was right, website and everything like that. But I tell everybody, especially women, don't let fear get in your way. Please don't. Because when that opportunity comes, it's not going to be based on your fear, your worry, your self-doubt. It's going to be on, this is your moment. Shine right now. Be a bad bitch with a power bitch.
Love it.
Okay.
So you went to MSNBC, and how did you end up in Shark Tank?
I wound up on Shark Tank because I had already prepared people to be on Shark Tank. Like, it was like the dirty little secret for certain people. Like, Precious is a killer pitch master. By that time, I'd won 13 competitions. And so they came to me, hey, we'd heard about you, would you do like a private audition? And I did it. And they were like, you're good. You're really, really good. And so the next thing I knew, I was flying out to LAX to be taken to Culver City, California to tape at Sony Picture Studios. I mean, it happened so fast.
Wow.
And so when people say, people used to say to me, you're so good, but you've never been on Shark Tank. I can say, yes, I have now. Yes, I have. And so I flew out on September 11th, which was a very scary day to fly out. And I filmed September 15th. And when I walked into that tank, it is an experience unlike any other. Like, I look back and like sometimes there's just tears. I really went head to head with the Sharks. And because I'm a 13-time champion, it's not a question they asked me that I didn't know the answer to.
Wow. So did you get an offer?
Well, I didn't go there for an investment. I wanted the exposure.
You wanted the exposure.
I did because, one of the things about when you're, I didn't want to give up equity. I'd done a lot of things. And that's what they said to me. They said, you've done a lot of things for someone who had no experience, no background. You don't have any training as a designer. What do we add to you that you haven't done for yourself? Like, you figured out ways to survive and to thrive with no training in entrepreneurship and design or anything. You just knew what to do. I said, well, I believe in curvy women. And I believe that, a curvy woman can look at something and say, I know other curvy girls are going to like that too. And so it was just a matter of asking the right questions and building a team around me who was able to help.
That makes sense. So did Mark Cuban offer you mentorship?
You know what? If he had, I literally started crying right after it was over because they really told me I need to be more proud of myself. Wow. Because they were like, very few times can someone walk in here with rock star confidence. And Robert Herjavec said to me, you're a master salesman. You're a master. And I was like, wow. I wanted to be like, can we cut? We right here? Yeah, I get that? He said, to a black chick. Ah!
Okay, so pretty sure that was highlight, right?
It was a highlight reel in my mind that's on loop.
And then, so what happened later? So you got the money, started the company.
So I got the money, started at $150,000, started the company. Next thing I knew, we were, doing the CNNs, the Wall Street Journals, and all this other kind of stuff, really blowing up. And what I always tell people is we often laugh at Hollywood people for getting into drugs and alcohol and stuff like that. Success is crazy, and success brings the wrong people around sometimes. And if you have low self-esteem, if you're dealing with worth issues, those people will exacerbate those things. So the actor died in the midst of me, blowing up. And I took to drinking and self-medicating, and then it got to a point where I was a full-blown severe alcoholic. I had the wrong people around me who were only there for the shine, like, oh, she's blowing up. And I stopped taking my psychotropic medication. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder when I was in law school. And so I stopped taking my medication, and, that's a recipe for disaster. And so on my 38th birthday, I decided to take my own life. Somehow my cousin came home and saved my life within 2 minutes of me dying. And so when I woke up in the hospital, I was so mad because I didn't want to be alive. And my cousin's like, you just did Shark Tank. You just did that. I was like, it doesn't even matter. Success doesn't matter when you're alone and when you don't know who to turn to, who your friends are, who your support network was. And I really squandered all my money. I squandered opportunities. I stopped doing a whole lot of things. And so I was actually homeless in New York City, and most people didn't even know that I was homeless. And so I went into the Bowery Mission Women's Center for almost 2 years. I was quiet on social media. We didn't have computers, televisions, anything. I was in a life transformation program, a Christ-centered life transformation program. But when I walked out with clients. I walked right back into Perfect Pitches by Precious. And now being able to work with the Microsofts, the eBays, the Googles and stuff like that, like they didn't even know that was my background. All they knew is what they saw on social media and what they saw when I graced that stage. So.
Oh, that's such a powerful story. Mm-hmm. Of course, you've been through so much adversity. Mm-hmm. What kept you going? How were you able to say, I need to get my life together and it starts today?
Well, having a strong support network, Miss Francis, who was a social worker who was with me when I was in and out of psych wards, she was like, you're never going to be in another psych ward again. She said, we're going to nip this in the bud. You're going to have a strong support network. So having the right people around me who always are looking to see if everything is okay. And they know that I can be uber successful, and they challenge me on it. And so having the right people, prayer, going after what it is I really want, not what other people tell me I should want, really having a strong sense of self and being able to know, that's why I change wigs all the time. That's why I change my whole look all the time, because this was what feels comfortable for me. Not being what people want me to be, but being who I am. And, that's why I wrote this book, because I'm tired of women feeling like they have to look, sound, and act like everybody else to be successful. You can do it on your own.
Amazing. So it's a great transition to talk about your book. Bad Bitches and Power Pitches. I love the title.
Yes.
Okay? And
I've been thinking about this for 3 years. 3 years before. It took me 2.5 months to write the book.
Yeah, so that was going to be my first question.
Yes.
Why did you decide to write this book now?
I finally decided to write the book now because I'm in a great space mentally, physically, and spiritually, and it was the right time. I met with a book coach, and I've been seeking a book coach, and went to the big boys, went to the small boys, and this woman, Sharon Monet with Penn Legacy, she wrote about me in June 2015 for CNN. I was an Entrepreneur of the Month for June 2015, and she's like, this book, you could write this book in your sleep. It's time before somebody else writes it for you. And she's like, that title won't last. And so the great thing is she had me on a schedule. Every week I had to turn in something, and I was too afraid not to. And this woman, I swear, is probably 5 feet tall. But I was afraid that if I didn't turn in anything, it would mess everything up. So when it was finished, I felt like it was a masterpiece. But I didn't know if anybody else would think that. You know what I mean? So to my shock, women were buying it in droves, and so were men. I was actually shocked.
Yeah, I actually seen the reviews on Amazon. They're 5 stars.
Yes.
People are loving this book.
Yes, very much so.
So, what is the main lesson you want people to get from reading your book?
I hope that they realize that there are 7 different types of branding bitches. So you can be the unstoppable bitch, the power bitch, the funny bitch, the mysterious bitch, the creative bitch, the numbers bitch. So there's 7 different women in here, and I hope that women see themselves in at least one of them, and that teaches you how to really write your pitch based on your characteristics and based on who you are as a person. And so as you're thinking about putting your new book, your brand, your product, your service, and your business out there, what are the best ways to approach that based on the characteristics that you fit in with the 7 women? And I hope that when they finally read my story at the back of the book, not the front, the back of the book, that they see that no matter what you go through, anything is truly possible, and that everything is possible and nothing is out of reach. If I could survive homelessness on the streets of New York to, working with Microsoft in the same year, that's an extraordinary story. And the only reason I did it is because I was a bad bitch with a power pitch.
Wow, that's so inspiring. Thank you. Wow, I'm so impressed with you. You've done so much.
Thank you.
So I have one last question for you. Majority of our audience are like Gen Z, millennials. A lot of them are college students. Of course, you've been through so much, and there's so much that we can learn from you and your experience and your story. What is the biggest piece of advice you have to someone out there that right now is struggling? It might be financially, mentally, physically. What is the biggest piece of advice you have for that person? The
biggest piece of advice I have for you is fortune favors the bold. So when you're sitting there I've gone through it. I've gone through, financial challenges, emotional challenges, spiritual challenges. And I realized that when I started to take action and when I started to invite my network into my struggle, what I'm going through, they started to help. And that people realize that it takes a bold person to admit I'm struggling. It takes a bold person to say, no matter what happens, I'm not going to give up. No matter what happens, I'm going to boldly go towards my purpose, boldly towards my dream, boldly to what makes me me, and just go forward with it. The fact is, I wanted to wear a blue wig today, and then I just kind of was like, that's a bold choice, but it's even bolder choice to do something that really matches how you feel on the inside. And this is how I felt. A little blonde, a little brown, a little black, a little this, a little bit of that. Go boldly in what you're pursuing. You are so young that it doesn't matter if you fail or you succeed. You'll keep doing iterations and pivots and all sorts of things. So if I were you, I would go out there with gusto. I wouldn't care what anybody tells me. I'm going to do this. And as they say, success leaves clues, and it's also paid for in advance. So people will tell you what they think for you. I want you to trust that voice inside of you, that bold voice that's telling you, stop doing what everybody else is doing and do what you know you're supposed to do. Be that bad bitch with that inner power pitch. So as people are talking to you and telling you what to do, trust that voice inside of you that will guide you. And you'll be amazed as you grow older, that voice will get stronger and stronger and will drown out the people who no longer matter in your lifetime. So fortune favors the bold. Go big or go home. Dream big.
No words. Thank you so much, Precious.
You.
Oh my God, it was just an honor to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you tune in for the next My Voice, Your Story talk. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for staying with us today. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out our next episodes. We have an incredible lineup of guests, so you're not going to want to miss it out. Also, make sure you check us out at blendtw.com and follow us on social media at blendtw to get your daily dose of inspiration and learn more about other stories of resilience and courage. See you soon.